And God, most importantly, thank you for Anthony Edwards. Amen. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Well, let's break down Timberwolves and Nuggets game 1 and take a look at Anthony Edwards' 43-point performance. Let's go. But first, Wolves back.
Howl, beat up game, boy.
All right, so coming into the game, the Timberwolves were 4.5-point underdogs in this series, and this is kind of crazy. I think it was Kevin Harlan who said this on the broadcast, but the Nuggets haven't trailed in any series in over 2 years now, which is insane, and as you will later find out, changed today, baby. All right, let's get into these highlights. Anthony Edwards started off on fire. He dropped 25 in the first half, and the Wolves jumped out to an 18-4 lead in the first quarter, but the Nuggets did respond with a 13-0 run of their own, and they grabbed the lead going into the second. Both teams were battling defensively, and we had a low score of 44-40 as the Nuggets went up into the half. The Wolves dominated the third quarters in the Phoenix series, so I was definitely curious just to see how they'd respond after halftime since they gave up that lead early on. Now, something else to note here is that Jamal Murray was scoreless in the first half, but he definitely got it going in the second. Denver went up by as much as 7 points in the third, and it felt like they were on the brink of breaking this game wide open, but the Wolves just kept fighting and fighting on both ends. And I mean, come on, man, look at this block by Ant, then Cat with the and one on the other end. Beautiful, just beautiful. The Wolves started the fourth with Cat and Nas out there together, but Cat picked up back-to-back fouls that resulted in and ones, so he had 5 fouls and had to sit, but it really didn't matter because Nas Hilton Reed, born August 26, 1999, balled out like his boxers had a hole in them. Sorry. He scored 14 in the fourth quarter. Look at this bank three. Why not, dude? By the time he subbed out with 3 minutes left in the game, the Wolves were up 98-91. Say it with me, 6th man of the year. And even though Denver hit some tough shots down the stretch, the Wolves were able to hang on and get the game 1 dub 106-99. Worth noting, by the way, that the Wolves held their opponents under 100 points more than any other team in the NBA this year, and obviously they were the #1 ranked defense as well, so it was definitely not a fluke. I do want to highlight this one play by Rudy Gobert specifically here, just to showcase how dominant both he and the Timberwolves defense can be at times. The Nuggets run a dribble handoff from Jokic to Murray here. Jokic rolls to the basket and Jamal feeds him. Rudy then takes a step towards Jokic, indicating that he's going for the shot contest, but he senses Aaron Gordon as the lob threat lurking behind him, so he drops back at the right time and swats away the lob, resulting in a turnover. Look, in my opinion, the Wolves have 3 of the best perimeter defenders in the entire league. You have Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Anthony Edwards when he wants to be, so maybe 2.5 of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. But look, if you somehow get by them, your prize is a date with Rudy Gobert at the rim, so congratulations and good luck. Now, before we get into the box score, I do want to highlight Ant for a bit here. I mean, all week long, the Denver Nuggets watched film and game plan on how to stop him. Spoiler alert, they did not stop him. I thought he was super aggressive early on. It definitely helps that his shot was falling, but look, the Wolves are relying heavily on his offensive production, and he did not disappoint. He finished with 43, 7 and 3 while shooting 17 of 29 from the field and 3 of 7 from 3. The biggest stat here, though, is just the 1 turnover. I talked about this in my last video when I broke down some of the keys to victory for the Wolves, so make sure you watch that if you haven't seen it yet. But in that video, I talked about how crucial it was for Anthony Edwards to remain assertive while still taking care of the ball. And I think he watched that video, so shout out to you, Ant. What up, dude? And he definitely listened because he did exactly that, just 1 turnover. So let's go. All right, so looking at the final box score here, Jaden McDaniels had a rough night offensively, just 0 for 7. He didn't score, but he still finished a plus 14, which tells you the impact he's having on defense. Rudy didn't light it up offensively either, but he did have 13 boards, and he's the best defender in the league, so that's good enough for me. Before getting into foul trouble, Cat actually played a great game. He scored 20 points on 8 of 13 shooting. Mike Conley was 3 for 4 from 3, which was huge, and he finished with a double-double, dropping 14 and 10. I've already talked about Nas Reed a bit, but he finished with 16 points and single-handedly outscored the Nuggets bench. I talked about this as well in yesterday's video, but another key was the Wolves' depth. I think they're one of the deepest teams in the league, if not the deepest, with 6th man of the year, Nas Reed, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Monte Morris, Kyle Anderson, and so the rest of those guys didn't really light it up in this game, but Nas was huge. And Nas didn't really have one single outstanding game in the Phoenix series, so I think it's a really positive sign for the Timberwolves to get him going in game 1 just for that confidence. As for the Nuggets, even though Nikola Jokic's stat lines are always insane, I mean, he dropped 32, 9, and 8 in this game, but even still, I thought for the most part the Wolves actually did a pretty good job on him defensively. I mean, the two biggest stats that back that up are the fact that he had 7 turnovers and he shot just 11 for 25 from the field. You can't ask for much more than that if you're Minnesota. They held Jamal Murray in check as well. I mentioned that he had 17 points in the second half, but if that's all he has and it was on 6 of 14 shooting, you'll live with that. KCP is just out there getting cardio, but the one guy that terrifies me the most is Michael Porter Jr., and he had a solid game. He finished with 20 points. And interestingly enough, all 5 Denver starters finished with a negative plus-minus. Meanwhile, all 4 bench players were positive, so take that for what you will. Maybe they should bench Jokic and give Justin Holiday all his minutes. Why not? But that's pretty much it for my Game 1 recap. I appreciate you guys stopping by. I'm assuming you're new to the channel because, well, the channel is new. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe. Don't want to miss any of the videos. I'm pumping out short form content, long form content. Going to be doing more game previews, game breakdowns. So make sure you're tapped in. But until next time, Wolves back.